people have actually, I mean, have you all seen a Heintzman piano? 100 years ago, you would have seen thousands of these. These are whiffle tree ends. So everybody knows what a whiffle tree is? It's the piece of wood that goes between the traces that the horse pulls on. So these get pounded in. You can see that pound probably into several different pieces of wood that broke and got repounded. And they obviously wore out quite a bit. So there were horses everywhere. And one of the legends is that one of the best salesmen would drive around the countryside with the piano, and he'd arrange to break down outside the house of the wealthiest farmer in the ask for help, and be invited in for the evening, and he'd unload a piano and play for them. And the legend has it that the piano seldom left. So I think it was Theodore August who was the main emphasis behind the quality of the piano. This sort of the big, usually maple today, piece at the back that holds the sounding board, or in an upright, or in a grand. It's the thing that holds the sounding board. And then on top of that is a big frame or plate that initially was fairly flat. And what his patents relate to are bridges and things that went sort of in the third dimension to make the thing rigid. And when they talk about the difference between the tinny or thin sound of the competitive pianos and the rich mellow sound of the Heintzman pianos, it's because of the rigidity of that plate and the length of the strings allowed them to use a heavier string at a higher tension to get different overtones.
And it was so important to be right at the Junction. Have they always called this place the Junction? Right
Briefly, it was called the Village of West Toronto Junction, the Town of Toronto Junction, the City of West Toronto, and then it became just the Junction as a neighborhood.
But you could think of it, the piano is such an enormous instrument. It had to be next to the railway, didn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the piano, it was everything moved better by rail or boat, but rail for the kind of things they were working with, than any other way of moving stuff around. They used huge amounts of wood. They weren't as nearly as careful about how they used wood. I mean, the amount of wood that went into a packing case for a piano would build a small house. It was ridiculous. And I've still got stuff that my dad had a top of a workbench made in the factory, and he decided he should learn how to work with wood, and I was the main beneficiary of this, but I still have stuff that was made with maple from packing cases from pianos.
They used maple for packing cases.
Really nice maple. But the Southern Ontario was being cleared, and people were cutting down all these really, really nice trees. So that by being at the Junction, you could get all of this wood, you could get your plate shipped in, you could get your action shipped in, you could get your veneers shipped in. It was just a really good place to be.